This video is about people attempting to push me to suicide. People like Sheriff Scott DaCosta of Chapel, Nebraska, and City Council member Jared Hahn of Chapel, Nebraska, and many of my supposed friends telling me to just let it go and I just need to love myself. But none of these people are paying any attention to what's going on in my life or why I need them to come forward about what they know. I don't know nothing, I don't know nothing. Yes, you do. If you didn't know nothing, I wouldn't be asking you. Each and every one of these people could have made reports. Each and every one of these people. All of them. And they could have utilized the system of checks and balances. I'm trying to get the evidence out there. I'm overwhelmed. I can't function and I don't have any help. The help that I did have was Mandy Singer. Mandy Singer is not here to help. She has family things going on. This is why there's supposed to be people like, well, for example, Jeff Ritter in Colorado, who is supposed to help me with this. People like, sorry, not Jeff Ritter, he was my therapist. Kara Heller was supposed to help me with this. And then there's people like Adult Protective Services, Tara Smith, who is supposed to help me with this. There are people who are supposed to be community support workers, like the police assumed that Megan Mesigatis was supposed to help me with. Well, she can't. She's got her own family issues. She can't. She's all the way in Lincoln. She can't help me with this in person. The reason that I have to put this stuff up on the internet, despite the fact that it's really not what I want to be doing, I'd rather be getting help from Mandy. I would rather have Mandy here to help me go through the evidence. I would rather have Mandy here to help me to navigate the internet problems and, you know, other technological issues that I have. I would rather have that. Now Mandy Singer is not trying to push me to suicide. She's not trying to push me to kill myself. A lot of other people have. And of course, from time to time, I do type that stuff back. But it doesn't feel good if I type that to you, but I'm supposed to be fine with it. People tell me, oh, well, Sean, you should just ignore it. You should just ignore it. How do you ignore it? Why don't you try telling William Barr that? Why don't you try telling Leslie Snell that? Just ignore it. Just ignore it. You ever try to ignore it when a child molester who has threatened your life repeatedly drives 3 blocks to pull out in front of you and assault you? You ever try to just ignore that? It doesn't work. In the beginning, I had so many people telling me that their families were being threatened by internet nut jobs and they were scared that I attempted to kill myself. It didn't work. That's because I don't have a DNR. Do not resuscitate. I'm trying to get one. I don't want to be brought back. When I die, leave me dead. No matter how much evidence I post up on here, I need help getting it into the courtroom. I wouldn't have had to post it up on here if I had help in person, help getting it into the courtroom. That's not saying that nobody ever tried to help me in person. Obviously, Mandy Singer did try to help me go through this stuff. Obviously, those things did happen. But then there's also the fact that her family life and her own issues are preventing her from being able to do that. Her housing situation is preventing her from being able to do that. Her fear that if she has the cops come to her place, she'll lose her housing is a very legitimate fear. Children do need to come first, and she is taking care of children. She is afraid that if she goes in with me to try to turn it into the police, that she will be targeted by law enforcement the way that I have. That is a very legitimate fear. But also, that leaves me without the help that I desperately need. The help that Shannon Alvarado offered. And when I got there, she just could not perform the function required due to alcoholism. And as Mandy Singer admitted, when I first went to her for help, she also couldn't help me due to the same issues. Gotta pause. Now, obviously, since there's two Mandys, and I've been going through my stuff and pulling out the stuff from Mandy Hughes, I said Mandy Hughes instead of Mandy Singer. That's my fault. That's going to happen a lot because of how complicated the situation is. I only have a few days to get all of this stuff done, and I'm gonna get railroaded in court. That's just the way it's gonna happen. Mandy Singer is not able to go with me to court on the 4th. Lisa is obviously not going to even try to understand autism, and she's not going to try to understand the sheer quantity of abuse that I have been through. She came highly recommended. Well, I cannot highly recommend her. So, with these people like Candace Bondurant, when I tried to commit suicide, she was just one small part of many people who were telling me that they were being threatened and harassed, and some of them even assaulted for sticking up for me. And yes, I did try to kill myself. I've tried to kill myself on multiple occasions since then, because there is no system of checks and balances. These people don't care enough about me to go in with me when it comes to the people who are actually capable. They just don't care enough. On the bright side, $1,400 of my disability money has gone to my little sister. It was supposed to be for help, most of it anyway. $400 of it was supposed to help her get into housing, but instead she spent it on tweaker cams. An additional $400 was for insurance, so that she wouldn't have to worry about getting pulled over and losing her vehicle and losing her license and having to go to court and all sorts of this, that, and the others. I also paid her to help me go through this evidence and to organize it, and all she wanted to do was reshuffle the papers over and over and over again. No, Tara, that's not what I needed. I needed her to look at this here box. This box, while I had internet access, while she was present. I needed her to look at the evidence and verify it. She came over and would look at it for half a second, and then she would go off in fucking Tweakerville. Now, I'm not saying that my sister is on meth. I mean, there's a possibility that she's got some pretty severe head trauma. I've known people who have been beaten profusely about the head, and they end up like that. But I didn't need her to organize and reorganize papers that I'd already organized. You know, for the most part, it is organized already. It's already in the piles that it needs to be in. I just had to stuff them into bags all emergency-like to try to move it and transport it somewhere else. I didn't need 3 days of that. Now, same issue at Shannon Alvarado's, except I didn't have all of this evidence most of the time I was there because I was waiting on Graham. The only thing that can push me to suicide at this point is the fact that if I'm dead, people will actually look at the evidence. If I kill myself over this, people will actually look at the evidence. Is that what it takes? Is that what I should have to do to get help? Is that what I should have to do for you guys to actually do some research and look into it? Because there's too much for one person to do. The system of checks and balances does not exist. And it's supposed to. People like Jen Beebe and Penny Cooper and Kara Heller and Tara Smith and Tamara, of course. And of course, there's also Lisa Green. Those people are supposed to be my checks and balances, and they haven't done shit. They have done nothing about the abuse, but turn a blind eye and try to get me to move on, move along, move along. This isn't any kind of a life. I have had complete strangers come up to me and try to start fights with me because they saw something about Natalie Bollinger on the fucking internet. I've had to deal with that almost everywhere that I've gone. All of my money has been spent trying to get help stopping the abuse. No, I don't want to put this shit on the fucking internet. I would rather have Mandy Singer's help. But that's not a happening thing. And that's not my fault. I would rather have my little sister's help. But that's not a happening thing, and that's not my fault. I would rather have Shannon Alvarado's help. But that's not a happening thing, and that is not my fault. I would rather have Alicia Bollinger come forward and tell the truth, but after all of the abuse that I have gone through for the last 5 years, do you think she's gonna stop being selfish and tell the truth? No, she's not. But also, the evidence of the bullshit that she pulled is on my YouTube. It's on my Facebook. And also, Mandy Singer has access to my Facebook. She is my legacy contact. So if I do end up dead, let's say somebody decides they're going to shoot me in the head, Mandy Singer will have access to all of it. Well, I guess she wouldn't, would she? She would have to have access to my computers. If I were to get shot in the head tonight, the police would take all of this shit. But at least the stuff on the internet would still be there. Meanwhile, the majority of the evidence I have is not on the internet. When I spoke with Chelsea Aiken, she was talking about, well, I have access to the same stuff, or everybody else has access to the same stuff I do. That's right, Chelsea. They do. But whereas you did not take an active involvement, these predators have. Whereas you could go through the evidence, at least in part, and show the actual truth instead of the little part that they want to use to pretend that I'm a monster. You could do that. That's what Mandy Singer's trying to do from a distance. Now, obviously, I am not threatening to kill myself. But there's no system of checks and balances. There's no one to go in with me to court. There's nobody to help me to process everything. So all I can do is put it on the internet in the hopes that somebody will help to go through this ginormous goddamn mess. I would have rather had real friends who were not cowards. Too cowardly to stand up to the police, too cowardly to tell the truth, too cowardly to admit that their addictions are harmful to those around them and prevent people from doing the things they need to do. Too cowardly to fess up to their own shit and instead want to blame it on children. Checks and balances is the word here, folks. The question is suicide the only way to get this stuff seen? The evidence shows why the laws need to be changed, why it is we don't need to make it more illegal to do this to disabled people or more illegal to do it to black people. We need checks and balances in place to prevent these son of a bitches from doing what it is that they're doing. We needed a system of checks and balances in place. Checks and balances like civilian oversight. Checks and balances like body cameras that are required to be worn and on. Checks and balances. So, between Candace Bondurant come forward and telling the truth, and me killing myself, which one do you think she would choose? Between Rose M. Kelly coming forward telling the truth, or me killing myself, which one would she choose? Between Alicia Bollinger coming forward to tell the truth, or me killing myself, which one would she choose? Between Shannon Alvarado coming forward to tell the truth, or me killing myself, which would she choose? Between Tabitha Michelle Cook telling the truth and me killing myself, which would she choose? Between Graham Milburn telling the truth or me killing myself, which would he choose? Between my dad coming forward and telling the truth or me killing myself, which would he choose? Between Kayla Trujillo telling the truth and me killing myself, which would she choose? Between Laura Nelson telling the truth and me killing myself, which would she choose? They already made their choices. They already decided. And that's why their stuff is up here. That's why I recorded conversations with them. They had already chosen. Between Todd Ryan Case coming forward to tell the truth and me killing myself, which would he choose? His words are already on here. Peach's words about the situation are already on here. So his words are already out there. All of these people's words are already out there. Our conversations between each other are on my YouTube. They already chose. Mandy Singer is the one person who has not made that decision. She is the one person who, if I were to kill myself, she's the one person who could say she honestly tried. She is the one person who can say that she would rather help me than see me dead. Also, her and Miss Peaches, aka Kayla Trujillo, are two people that, and also Jamie Curtis, they're all supportive of assisted suicide. They all believe that assisted suicide should be legal. Obviously, I am not threatening to kill myself. Obviously, all of these people, if given a choice between telling the truth and seeing me dead, they would rather see me dead. My older brother, Eric Christopher Schwartz, lives in Boulder, Colorado. He goes by the name Rabbit. Between being my brother and seeing me dead, which would he choose? Between my mother actually being a mother for once in her goddamn life and seeing me dead, which would she choose?